All right, happy Saturday. So, what I really want to do today is make some chocolate chip cookies. Jeannie was craving cookies and she kept asking, I want cookies, I want cookies. Cookies are the best from scratch. And the good thing about making them from scratch is you can put them up and freeze them or put them in your fridge, make them later. You can use them right away. So, you don't really need to buy them, from the store unless you just want to. But I'm telling you, it's so much better in my opinion, when you make them yourself. And it's easy and simple. And I'm going to show you that today. So for me, I like them chewy. I like moist cookies and kind of fluffy. And then it's also exciting when they're kind of large, especially for kids. So I do them kind of large because that's exciting for Jeannie and if she has any friends over. So the ingredients I'm going to use for these cookies are pretty much basic standard things that you would have. So I have flour, sugar, brown sugar, and then butter. The butter is unsalted. You can use salted. 1 egg. Then I have chocolate chips here, vanilla, brown sugar, and regular sugar. So to start this recipe, what you really want to do right away is cream this butter and sugar together. So I'm using white sugar, and then I'm also using brown sugar. So I'm going to take the white and brown sugar and just kind of put them here. So I have brown and I have the white sugar. And then what I'm going to do to that is add some butter and just kind of cream these two things together. So that's going to go in. And I'm going to do this on low. Now I'm using a KitchenAid mixer. So I want you to see kind of what's going on in there. You just want to make sure that it's incorporated together and that it's fluffy. And I have like arthritis, so it's a lot easier for me to do this with the KitchenAid mixer. And I just kind of make sure everything's going. So I'll turn it off for just a second. And I want everything in there, so I'll move it down a bit. Okay, and then just turn it back on, a low temp. And just let that combine. So to this, I'm going to add an egg. And this is some vanilla. I have to use a really good vanilla. It makes a difference. I've tried recipes different ways, like the same recipe. I'll try it multiple different ways. And one thing that I learned, you can't skimp on the quality of the ingredients with these cookies. So, like, for example, at one point, I changed the brand of the chocolate chips and it dramatically changed the cookie. Also, I changed the vanilla and it changed the cookie. And the changes that I made were really like cost-cutting changes. And you don't really want to do that. You want to use really good quality chocolate chips. Basically, don't skimp on the quality is the moral of the story because that matters. All right. And when I talk about like the quality of the ingredients, for example, I like to use a combination of milk chocolate chips and I like to use semi-sweet. But as far as a brand that's really nice, this is a really lovely brand that you could use. You just want to kind of go for the higher quality ingredients. If it didn't make a difference, I would tell you, but it does. Because I've tried to save money while making this and kind of used, more affordable chocolate chips. Then I used the more affordable vanilla. It was not the same cookie. So just focus on the quality, get something decent. So next up, what I'm going to do is add some flour to the sugar that I was creaming. Let me just turn this off while I do that. So I'm going to add flour. And we'll kind of just continue to work that in. Another thing that I'm going to add is some baking soda and just a little salt. Now, the thing is, the butter that I use is an unsalted butter. So that's why I'm just going to use a little salt. If you use a butter that happens to be salted, then you can omit the salt. But really, I'm just using a little salt, just a pinch. I'm just going to turn that off for a second. And what I really want to do is just kind of scrape the sides and get everything in here. You can do this by hand. So if you don't have like a KitchenAid mixer, it's not necessary for this. It's just for me and my, hands. I have arthritis, so this is easy. So these are milk chocolate chips, and I like to use the jumbo ones because it just looks great in the recipe. And then you also want to use the semi-sweet chocolate chips as well. So these are semi-sweet chocolate chips. So I use a combination of both. Now here's the thing. I use a lot of chips in this recipe. You don't have to kind of do that. And I'm going to leave the recipe so that you can have an idea of what to use. But I use a lot of chocolate chips, more than what you really need. So once this is all blended together, what I'm going to do is refrigerate it. I could turn this off at this point, and I'm going to tell you why. Because here's the thing, and this is really important. An important rule with cooking and baking. You never want to overmix. Overmixing, if you're making pancakes, whatever you're making, a cake, when you overmix, you're going to have a tougher, more rubbery texture. When you want things to be moist and delicious, you just want to mix stuff to combine it. Like once it's combined, you're all good. So with this, it's really combined. I'm just going to do the rest pretty much by hand and just work it in a little. But that's pretty much it. If you can see how simple this was to make this cookie dough. If you don't want to use this today, you want to save it so that whenever you want cookies, you can freeze this. Now, the thing is, what I'm going to do right now, though, I'm going to put it in the fridge for at a minimum of 20 minutes to like an hour. Because if you don't and you bake this right away like this, you're going to have really loose, flat cookies. And I want them to be like plump and chewy. So I'm going to refrigerate them for a minimum of 20 minutes to like a half hour or so. I find the longer you refrigerate it, the harder they are to work with. So really like 20 minutes to 30 minutes. But if you're going to make some cookies and set them aside for other times, I like to let them come to room temperature and then bake them a little, just because they're like a lot easier to work with. But this is pretty much exactly what you're looking for with the cookie. And you can see I have a lot of chips in here because I really want a cookie that is chunky and just full of chips. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the fridge, and then we'll go ahead and get them set up, and then they'll go in the oven. So let's get that going. All right, so I took the cookies out, and as you can see, just want them to get a little more solid and formed. So I like to use an ice cream scoop for this part, and just to try to keep the cookies around the same size. Now, you want space on the cookie sheet here because I really don't want the cookies to touch. So I think at the most I'll be able to get, let me just move that over so I'm actually about here. At the most I could probably get 6 cookies at one time because they're kind of big, the cookies, and I like to make them that way intentionally. There we go. There you go. Okay. Yep. This recipe will make, like, because I'm doing them kind of large, about 6 cookies. Yep, because we want them pretty large. And then I'm going to do them at 350 for about 10 minutes. Okay. This one is just like loaded with chips. It's always that cookie that's just like loaded. All right, so this will make 6 really big cookies. Oftentimes, I double this recipe, depending on how many people. But for the purposes of today, it's not a lot of us, so 6 is fine. But I will double it if I want like more like 12 cookies. So 10 minutes, we'll have cookies. I always set a timer. It is just because I'm a type of person, I can kind of lose track of time. So 10 minutes, and these are going in. If I'm not happy with how dark they are in 10 minutes, I'll put them on for a few more. All right, guys, so let's take a look at the cookies. And as you can see, they get a lot bigger than you think once we actually pull them out. But they look pretty scrumptious. Yeah. And just so you can kind of see inside the cookie a little bit. Let me just, how tender they are. Get that. All right, so have a happy Saturday. This was really fun. We're going to keep posting and just bringing you more videos. What I'm about to do within the next couple of days, I'm going to do a pork stew that's just absolutely delicious. And I'm also going to do a sheet cake. I'm going to show you just how I do that as well. So have a happy Saturday. This was a lot of fun.